recording this session ready. I'll start the session and then we can let people in if there's any extras that arrive. So I am Verity Green, the Senior Early Years Business and Sufficiency Officer working under Jane Spice within the funding team, and I will let Hannah introduce herself.
Hiya, I'm Hannah. I work in the Employment and Skills team at East Sussex County Council, and we support communities getting into work, into training, upskilling, and we also support businesses with employment and skills challenges across the county in some of our priority sectors, including early years.
Thank you. Melanie, are you happy to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mel Butcher. I run the Transform service, which supports businesses across the county with their skills and training needs. I'll talk a bit more about the Transform service throughout the presentation.
Thank you. Are you going to move the slides on for me,
Yeah.
Melanie? Thank you. So today's session, this is what we're going to cover throughout the session. Sorry, I can't see that. So it's obviously this session's designed to provide some practical support and help for you as settings and providers to help attract, develop and retain your workforce in obviously what we know is a challenging recruitment environment currently. Okay, so as part of the government's Best Start in Life strategy, there's a really strong focus on building and upskilling and a skilled and sustainable early years workforce, with that ambition of having an early years teacher in every setting. At the same time, we know that providers are facing that real challenge around recruitment, retention and staff development as well. So all of this today is around what support's available and to help you make the most of those existing programmes and funding. We obviously recognise that there's national and local recruitment pressures, and with that increased childcare demand, we've got some places with a high staff turnover, the qualification requirements, and again, retaining those staff. And obviously, we know that those high quality workforce, you know, that really benefits your business, and without those it affects the quality, your capacity and your business sustainability as well. So we want to help you make, you know, look at that workforce planning as part of your strategic issue rather than just a simple recruitment issue. And you know, it's worth looking at it in your own context for each of you. And so this today will be a practical sort of solution with focus on those funding opportunities and support available across the teams with East Sussex as well. I will hand over to Melanie.
As I mentioned, I run the Transform service on behalf of East Sussex County Council, and it's a free support service for businesses across the county, and it's really an impartial advice service about your skills and training needs. Some of the things that I can provide on the service is helping you with regard to recruitment support and advice, workforce planning guidance, information on funding opportunities, access to training skills and programs, connections to local education and employment initiatives. I can broker that relationship with local training providers and with the colleges, and support with attracting, developing talent. There's a huge amount of tailored programs that we'll talk about throughout this presentation. Now, many of you may have come across apprenticeships and have some apprentices, but they are a flexible workforce solution. They're not just for young people. Existing employees can also benefit from apprenticeship training to develop new skills and progress within the organisation. Apprenticeships support recruitment, retention and progression. Apprenticeships are available for new recruits and existing staff. And some of the types of the apprenticeship standards within the early years setting is the early years practitioner level 2. There's the early years educator, which is at a level 3. And then you go on to the early years lead practitioner, which is level 5. And then there's the new early years teacher, level 6. Verity, would you like to say a bit more about the early years teacher?
So the early years teacher, obviously that links to the best start in life strategy, and that's the key driver that they're looking at for every setting. It is accessible. We've got to have certain levels of qualification, so that may be a barrier to some, but using these different routes that Melanie's talking about, hopefully that will build up to enable those practitioners in the long-term future to access this provision. Currently, it's through Best Practice Network is one of the providers. We're not sure if some of the other local universities and that are currently going to provide this, are we? We're waiting for them to look at the opportunities that may come up around that.
Yes. In
Yeah.
terms of the early years, level 2, level 3 and the level 5, there is a range of training providers, and the colleges offer those apprenticeship standards. There's also a range of other standards. There's about, I think there's on last count, there's about 850 different apprenticeship standards now. So there are some which may be applicable to your settings regarding business administration. There is ones around digital marketing, and there are some ones around leadership and management apprenticeships as well. Some of the benefits from apprenticeships, you can use them to develop skills aligned to your setting's needs. Young people especially like it because they can earn whilst they're learning, basically, instead of racking up debts when they go to university. It can improve staff retention because you're investing in your workforce. Create a clear progression pathways, so as you can see, you can go right the way from level 2 right the way to level 6 degree level. There's access to funding training opportunities, which I'll go into, and they can build a sustainable workforce pipeline. There has been some recent changes announced by the government and with the Department for Education and the Department of Work and Pensions, because there's been some changes. This slide highlights some of the key funding changes and what they mean in practice, particularly for small and medium businesses. Key funding updates are from August 2026, apprenticeships for 16 to 24-year-olds will be fully funded, which is a significant shift and removes a major cost barrier for employers. So at the moment, if you don't access levy transfer, which we'll go into, a small and medium business would need to contribute 5% towards the training costs. There is now, currently, the age is 16 to 22, but that is being because of the issue with the increase in the not in education, employment and training for younger people, and it's gone over to 1 million now. They've extended the fully funded to 16 to 24. There will also continue to be a strong government support for training, alongside increased opportunities to access funding through levy transfers from larger organisations. On top of that, employers won't pay national insurance contributions for contributions for apprentices under 25, which further reduces the overall cost of hiring. For SMEs, this is really about being proactive. Start thinking about how you can use these more flexible training options, particularly there's some shorter modular ones, which we'll go into as well. There's also a clear opportunity to bring in younger apprentices while funding is fully covered. And it's worth exploring partnerships with levy paying employers, which we'll go into as well. Now, some of you may not know about apprenticeship levy transfer. So levy, what is levy? So large organisations such as East Sussex County Council pay into what's called a levy pot. They pay, you are a levy payer if you have an annual a wage bill which is over 3 million. That pot they are allowed to use to pay for the cost of apprenticeships for their own staff, but also, and East Sussex do this, is they transfer their levy to small and medium businesses throughout the county, so they can fund their apprenticeship training programmes. So the potential benefit is reduced carrying costs, increased access to apprenticeship programmes, greater affordability for smaller employers, and support to develop workforce skills. How it works? So through the Transform service, what we would do is identify the apprenticeship needs. You would have selected the apprenticeship programme, and I can support in brokering that. If you do not know the training provider or college, university who you would like to work with, we would discuss the eligibility and the funding options, and then I would support through the Transform service for you to apply for levy transfer. It's not a complicated form. I can assure you it's a one-page form and it's very easy to complete. I can also support you in setting up, if you haven't already have one, a digital apprenticeship service account, which you will need to access the funding, but also for any member of staff going on to apprenticeship, you would need a digital apprenticeship service account. That account links to your HMRC gateway login, just to say that. So there's a whole load of information and guidance around that, which I can provide through the Transform service. And as I say, I can signpost to training providers and help you apply. As I mentioned before, as part of the Youth Guarantee, there's a whole range of finance support which has recently been announced by the government. This is due to the increase of the number of young people who are not in education, employment and training, referred to as NEETs, though there was a great discussion about whether NEETs is the right word, but anyway, we'll leave it at that. So there's a range of support coming out. There's more detail to come out on these incentives. So there is, as you can see there is a £1,000 additional payment for hiring an apprentice who's aged 16 to 18. There is £2,000 for new SME hiring incentive as well, which is also coming out. That is coming out from July, as it were. Foundation apprenticeships, currently there isn't an early years foundation apprenticeship available yet. I know the Skills England are looking at that. And there's also some incentives around universal credit for those who are aged 18 to 24. So there is possibilities of accessing £5,000. Obviously, there's eligibility criteria for this, and as I say, further details are due to come out, and they have all got different start dates, as it were. And as you can see from the last one, the DWP is responsible for the universal credit, but all the other ones are through the Department of Further Education, Department for Education. The aim is the government's wider reforms aimed at reversing the decline of young people and creating 50,000 more apprenticeships for young people. And these incentives are intended to help meet additional costs associated with employing a young person, as it's recognised that hiring a young talent brings fresh ideas and strengthens an employer's workforce, enabling them to develop the skills needed to meet demands of the future. Now, I don't know how many people know about T-levels. So T-levels are alternative to A-levels. So they're at that level 3. So they're equivalent to A-levels, two A-levels. They are technical base, but also a bit of vocational. There is colleges, both the colleges, so Bexhill College and East Sussex College offer the early years T-level. And as part of students on the T-level, they are required to do industry placements. And this is a way of having, they are 16 to 18-year-olds, having a 16 to 18-year-old on an industry placement to support as part of their programme. The benefits for employers is accessing emerging talent, support future recruitment, introduce young people to the sector, bring fresh ideas into your setting, and develop supervisory and mentoring skills among staff. Benefits for students are real workplace experience, understanding of the early years sector, and development of practical skills. And what can happen is through the Transform service, I can signpost you and put you in touch with the T-level early years teams within those colleges, so you can have a conversation with them about whether it could be a possibility for your setting. And after the T-levels, they could go on to a early years apprenticeship after that T-level. Again, I don't know if anybody has any knowledge of skills boot camps. They are very relatively new to East Sussex. Skills boot camps are for individuals or adults aged 19 plus, and they are a bespoke programme which is designed around industry needs. East Sussex are the contracting body for the skills boot camps across the county. They are fully funded. The adults on those programmes can be unemployed, they can be self-employed, but you can also use them to access them to upskill your existing workforce. They are up to 16 weeks. And it enables, and there's a guaranteed interview with an employer if they are unemployed. And as I say, it's available to individuals looking to enter a new sector or upskill in their current role. Across East Sussex, this is a new boot camp. So this is a early years, there's a Pacific one, which is a early years skills boot camp. And the boot camp equips participants with key skills needed to work in the sector, including a level 3 paediatric first aid, child development, safeguarding, prevent, and the early years foundation stage. Programmes include sector-specific training, employability support, designed in collaboration with local employers to meet workforce needs. Employers links support job outcomes and progression opportunities. So if you are recruiting, looking to recruit staff, this is a good opportunity to get involved with Brighter Horizons, who are a training provider delivering the skills boot camp, as they will be looking for employers across the county who they can work with, so they can guarantee interviews for those those adults completing the boot camp. After the boot camp, they could then go on to the apprenticeship, early years apprenticeship. And it provides you an opportunity to influence and inspire the next generation of early years professionals. This just shows you the different types of training, as it were, or how you can get involved with looking at your future talent or upskilling your existing workforce. So as I said, there is T-level placements. These are 16 to 18-year-olds, and those learners will be doing the early years T-level. They're 2-year programs, and normally the industry placement, they'll have one in the first year and then one in the second year. But there can be block release. The colleges will work with you to find the best way that placement works for you. There's also the work experience, which can be accessed through the Careers Hub and the work experience team at the local authority. We've talked about apprenticeships, and then there's this new skills boot camps that settings can access. And then there's the training with regards to becoming qualified practitioner, which again can be an apprenticeship, and then the senior practitioner, which Verity talked about, which is the level 6. And this means there's sustainable recruitment pipeline, reduced future recruitment costs, stronger links with local education providers. Verity, were you going to do this slide?
I can do these bits.
Yeah.
So obviously, training on that workforce development opportunities. So there's some of the pieces around continuing professional development. We know that that's a big factor for Ofsted as well. You've also got things like the free online child development training through the government that you can access for early years specifically. Leadership and management training. Some of those are available. We've got training via East Sussex, the early years officers write some of that training, and that is available through the learning portal. So that will get advertised through there, which you can sign up to as well. Things like your safeguarding training, that's available through there, but the early years team run safeguarding network sessions as well. The send and inclusion training, there is the basic online one through East Sussex Learning Portal, but the Best Practice Network are also running the new government incentive to increase the number of SENCOs. There's a level 3 SENCO award I believe their June session is full already, but you can contact them to find out more information and sign up for their July session, and that's fully funded through the DfE again. Communication and language development. I think most of you have got information around Little Link and pieces like that, which are incentives from the early years team. There's lots around the workforce and wellbeing initiatives that have come out, and then obviously those sector specific qualifications. I know some of you do in-house training, but again, that's the apprenticeship ones. But there's also things like NDNA that do bite-sized training as well, that you can access. We know the benefits of those, even bite-sized sessions that really help improve the quality of the provision and the knowledge of the staff. It gives those staff that increase in confidence. It helps with your retention, and obviously outlining to staff the career progression opportunities is more likely to retain them because they can see a way forward. The early years officers are available and they can support around practice and provision. So I think most of you know who your linked officer is, but if not, you can contact childcare support. There's also a lot of information on the C Zone page under the early years foundation stage, and we will post this video on the business page within that section as well. I think that's all of that element. If I've missed anything, let me know. Okay, so yeah, every year the training offer, the early years team look at what's available out there. They look at outcomes that link to obviously the best start in life strategies that are looked at. They can support specifically within your setting after a specific outcome. They will look at local need across the sector as well for you, and produce different types of sessions. Some may be longer, some may be bespoke bite size. They also run things like the early years conferences, again as a CPD opportunities for your staff. And again, that's most of those are booked through the learning portal or directly through conversation, and the link for the best practice early years Senko course is on the slides as well, which we will send out afterwards. Are there any other pieces? Yeah. There we go. Do you want me to do this one, Melanie, or do you want to do this
okay
one?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so moving forward, what to do next. So look at your workforce needs. Everybody's got different needs within their sector. We're seeing that ever-changing early years workforce and early years market as well. So really explore those apprenticeships opportunities and consider hosting those T-level placements. It's really good practice and opportunities for them to get on there. And we've previously been into the colleges and spoken to them about the opportunities that are available through them. Identify training priorities for your team. That's a really good part of your supervision discussions. What your practitioners want to do, but what you think they need support with as well. Contact obviously the transform service, who can give you all the information around what they've discussed again. And those early years officers, really make use of those with practical, that practice advice and training as well. And then, like I said, use your supervisions, one-to-one discussions to really help you identify what's going on. There's recruitment advice there, obviously funding, and then look at your workforce planning as well. Moving forward, what might you need? What might you develop? And that grow your own model seems to be the one that is helping retain the most staff from what we're seeing with the larger settings, especially. They're taking them through the whole system and upskilling them, really molding them to the needs of their business. There we go.
This slide,
yeah, I'll let you do this one.
Okay, this slide just brings it all together. So what's available with regards to workforce development, with regards to recruitment support, there's transform service advice, there's the apprenticeship, all the apprenticeships available, there is funding available, there's we've had a discussion about the T-level placements and all the incentives, new incentives around employing a young person, and then all the kind of training and CPT opportunities. And then we come to the end, and this is all around your questions and having a discussion about anything. One thing I didn't mention is if you are looking to take on any apprentices, we do have some road shows. One is coming up at the end of June and one in July. There's one in Eastbourne and there's one in Hastings that we can also we'll put the information out to you, but we can actually promote those apprenticeships at those road shows, as it were. So I'll stop sharing, and then if anybody has any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? You can use the hand function or put it on the chat if you don't want to ask the question directly. Or you can take yourself off mute as long as everybody's mindful that somebody else may want to ask a question as well. So is there any questions from anyone today? Just pop in if you can't use any. Yeah, Rodney? Oh, you can't unmute. Okay, let me see if I can unmute you. Don't know where to. Hannah might have to help me with that one.
I think I've succeeded.
There you go, you've done it.
Right, very good. Yes, to say first of all how helpful this webinar has been. Just thinking about bringing people from say level 3 up to level 5 in terms of we have an early years teacher, and it was clearly just won the best practice early years teacher of the year award. But in terms of we've got other level 3s who could move up, and think about training to move people, improve their skills within the workforce. And I've also been very interested in what you said about younger apprentices, and certainly the fully funded up to 24 was definitely got my attention. But the question really is about moving people up, is upskilling them within the workforce, say a level 3 going towards level 5.
Yeah. So is that the opportunities that are out there? So there is through like there's probably local providers, but the one that I know is Best Practice Network Online. They have got almost their model of career progression with them and the different qualifications that they can do at different routes along the way. I can see if I can bring up, let me see if I can find their little element that shows you that.
Rodney, if you came through the Transform service, I can then provide you with information about who offers that level 5 and that level 6. So then you can look at, I can give you impartial advice, so then you can look at who's best suits your organisation, basically. So with regards to that level 5, there is a lot of local providers who offer that level 5. There's less offering the level 6.
Right. Just here because in Seaford we're on the south coast. There's only one side of the county we can draw from, so we're fishing in a kind of quite small pool for new staff. We're booking strongly for September terms, so we're thinking about both, I think, apprentices and people joining in to be trained up, but also recruiting some skill and upskilling people we've got. So yes, I'm very interested to engage with the two services I've heard about this morning.
Yeah. Right, on that point around the level 5, and I think that again there's a misconcept about, so a lot of the early years apprenticeships, apart from the teacher one, but a lot of the early years apprenticeships you can start anytime, so that you don't have to wait until the academic year kind of thing. So actually, particularly when they are with private training providers, independent training providers. There's a lot in this field. So therefore they could, you know, I could put you in touch and they could start in a couple of weeks' time, basically, on that provision. They would assess their prior attainment and their prior experience, look at their qualifications. They would look at they would check that the role is appropriate for that level 5 apprenticeship, and then they would do all the sign up enrolment progress. And also they wouldn't, the individual, the member of staff wouldn't necessarily have to go to the training. They could do the theory lessons online and then be visited by an assessor. So they wouldn't actually have to go anywhere for that provision as well.
Okay. I've got another question, but I'll let other people ask questions first.
I was just going to say as well, it's worth, as long as your ratios allow it, it's always worth looking at unqualified staff members as well. And the skills boot camp is, you know, an ideal starting block for them. It gives them the basic background and some of the key training that you need for them to start off their journey. So that's a real stepping point if you've got unqualified staff that may want, you know, some of that information just as a starter to get them interested in that career opportunities. Yeah, has anyone else got a question before we let Rodney do his next one? If not, then we'll let Rodney ask your next one, Rodney, and then see if anybody else wants to come forward afterwards.
Okay. This is about how to balance the workforce in terms of unrepresented people, unrepresented groups. For example, we don't have any men in our setting other than me, well, a couple of trustees then. And also we've not yet successfully recruited people from the BME background. So I was just thinking about targeted recruitment or finding a way to look for, to balance that workforce in terms of gender and BAME people for our team.
Has anybody got any suggestions? So obviously we know men in the workforce, specifically early years, is a challenge. There are few that are out there, but we do have some within East Sussex that have managed to successfully recruit the male, some of the men to the sector. I think it's just, you know, making all of your adverts and things really clear that, you know, it's open to all, and it's the qualifications or even unqualified staff that you're looking for, that wider community, wider representation as well. So it's just following all the good practice around recruitment and obviously those advertising. But Hannah or Melanie, have you got any specific suggestions outside of that?
I think using all those opportunities that we've talked about, so using T-level placements where you can do, using networks and links with the college, using the skills boot camps, which might open up alternative recruitment routes than your kind of normal recruitment that you've done in the past. That might open up different types of recruits to ones that you're seeing through those general Indeed or wherever you might advertise normally, that weren't there kind of 2 years ago. Skills boot camps and T-level placements didn't exist. So you've got a whole different type of cohort coming through them that could be completely different to your normal recruitment route. So I would suggest, if you're able to and you've got the capacity to, giving them a go and see what kind. I mean, with the T-level placement, you can do mini interviews with the college. You've got, there's no commitment on you taking a placement on just because you say I'm interested. You send them a job description, because we're doing that at the moment in our team. We want to take on a T-level placement, so we've written a kind of a one-page job description, and then we'll conduct mini interviews to see if we think they'll be a good fit on both sides.
And it's worth saying as well, the job centres advertise, you know, for free, and they can support with recruitment and things like that as well. Certainly when we did a big piece of work around the wraparound programme, they were, you know, they could advertise, they could put it more wider across the wider area. They could help tailor, you know, they could do some of the filtering for you, so you didn't get all of the ones necessarily that wouldn't align to what you were looking for. So it's worth contacting those as well.
I was also going to say about the apprenticeships. If you are taking on an apprentice, they go onto a national database. So there's a portal for apprenticeships. So that is, and it's a government portal where all the vacancies go on. and that is used by careers advisors, work coaches, and everybody within those job centres. So that has a wider reach as well. Also, the apprenticeship roadshow, having done them for I don't know how many years, 10 years, you do get a diverse range of people coming into those shows, and you do get the young people, but you also get their parents who you end up talking to because they're looking to get into the industry and things like that. So you do get diversity there. So if you do thinking about taking on an apprentice, we can advertise that role without those apprenticeship roadshows.
Thank you.
Thank you. Has anybody else got any questions? If you don't have any now, or you think of some afterwards, feel free to email them through to us. But thank you very much for joining us this morning. I will obviously get the copy of this put up onto our C-Zone page around business support, so that you're able to access this and go back through the pieces that you need to as well. But thank you for joining us this morning. I will stop recording